What's happening, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, we are back.
We are in the building.
This is the NBA report. You see it. What's happening, John? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Looking forward to these playoff games that are on their way. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be some nice matchups coming up. So I'm looking forward to talking about that today with you. And to chatting it up with the with our chat, folks who are tuning in.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. You know what? It's exciting and it's funny. I forgot. We're gonna get into it in a little bit, but I was watching the games yesterday, and I swear to you, I forgot how the play-in tournament was laid out. And the team's losing, and I'm like, oh man, they out of here. And then I realized that's not how it's set up. I was like, oh, I forgot.
Right, they will play a different
level, it's crazy.
Different what they call that, a different team in a different area.
Right, it's just really for seeding.
Right.
But the one that loses twice is out of here. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, guys, without further ado, we're gonna jump right into it, man. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. And we're gonna start off a little different. We hit you right early with it, man. We're gonna get you with the Biz Marquee Player of the Week. I know y'all are thinking, damn, who could it be? Season's over. A lot of guys played well.
Right.
Well, let's see who it is. Because I personally, I don't know who it could be. You have an idea, John?
I really don't. Let's see. Let's see who it is.
All right, let's check it out. Yes, sir. That's right. Mr. Joel Embiid himself, man. Mr. I want the MVP. Y'all need to recognize me. Forget that Joker, that Jokic, that Joker guy.
That almost rhymed. I was about to say, you spitting bars.
Listen, man, it only makes sense. We got the Biz Marquee Player of the Week. I got my Nas World Is Yours hat on. You know what I mean? It correlates, man.
I feel you. But hey, to his credit, man, he's played really solid this entire season. He's put up an amazing stat numbers, all across the board. I think this is an MVP season for him, even if he doesn't win the award. And yeah, man, the Sixers got themselves a gem with Embiid, and he seems to stay healthy. So that's the most important part. As long as he can stay healthy, they could definitely they'll definitely be sort of one of those top tier teams just because of his talent. So and most of this year was without Harden, and without Ben Simmons. So.
And even when Harden was there, some of it's without Harden.
Without him, right? So true. So true.
The hate is real. Hey, man, listen, I'm here all night. Yeah, man, you're right, man. Embiid definitely deserves the consideration. And he might have done enough to win it. You never know.
Right.
It's very up and down. I don't even know how the voting works. I don't know if they show favoritism, if they say because we've seen MVPs in the past. There's plenty of times where we thought Jordan could win them, and someone else wound up winning them. Steve Nash won twice, right? He won by himself, and then he tied, I think.
Right. Then he shared the MVP season.
Right. Was that with Dirk that year?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It may have been.
Yeah,
that would have been Steve Nash in the Phoenix, and
right. Not exactly.
Not on the same team,
Correct. Yeah, man. So let's take a look at some highlights from Mr. Embiid this past week. And let me tell you, this is highlights from one of his most impressive games. I mean, we're talking 41 points and
he didn't play
rebounds.
his last game, right? Of the season.
No,
he played every game but the last game, right?
No. And you know what? Being that you mentioned it, I just thought it was pretty funny. I don't know if you remember that they talked about it. Has nothing to do with Embiid, but the Milwaukee Bucks game,
right.
Drew Holiday came in for the tip-off, and then he said, "See you later."
Right. That's what he was there for.
Funny. Yeah. Get paid, buddy. That's a $375K right there.
Exactly.
Not mad at
money. Get that money.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this. Oh, sorry. There we go. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay.
We don't have music playing today because, of course, our guy Jose is on vacation. And he started his vacation a bit early this week. And so we're doing this without some, music background. But it's okay. Oh, look at this guy. Look at that guy.
Baby. We do everything over here.
There you go, Ron. There you go, Ron.
Look at Embiid taking him to school over here.
Right. What I like about his game is that he is very patient. He'll size you up like this jump shot right here. He sizes his opponent up and, he drains it, He's got good court vision. There goes the court vision.
Yep.
Makes the right decisions, makes the right reads. And, he's hard to stop when he gets to the bucket. That body, that weight, that height. It's a lot to contend against. Very difficult to contend against a kid, a young man who got that sort of skill level with the basketball in his hands. He can dribble, with both hands. He has really good touch around the rim. He's just solid all around. Can hit that mid-range.
It's really impressive that it doesn't always happen, but you gotta give Philadelphia a lot of kudos for sticking with the trust in the process, as you like to say, because this guy really was the truth, and they went through a lot with him in the beginning where I thought he was going to be a bust. He could never be healthy. Look at who he is. But
he put in the work. To his credit, he put in the work. He started hitting he was a good shooter as a big, but he was able to extend that, towards the 3-point line. So that's even more impressive that he didn't come in with that already.
Right.
Like, he started developing that while he was in the NBA and really found his touch. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Definitely kudos to Joel.
Not a bad pick this for Player of the Week.
Yeah, no. He's deserving. He's deserving. And I like the fact that not only is he deserving just with his normal basketball play, but these the past 2 weeks, maybe even started with 3 weeks, but definitely the past 2 weeks of the season, like towards the end, he was going all out trying to stake his claim for MVP. So
true.
So, you definitely got to salute to him, man.
Right.
And it's not easy because, the other thing that was against him, it's funny that he had to deal with that. Most NBA players, these games don't mean anything for the most part once you have your positioning, and they were blowing out some of these teams. So you got to score your points quickly.
Right. And then try to get some rest.
Right. But once coach is ready to take you out of the game, it's over.
Right. It's true. You're absolutely right. Especially, coming down the stretch, you would hate to have your prime player, get injured because you're playing them heavy minutes. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, man. I think what we should do is we should talk about this play-in, because this play-in is it's on and popping. And I know the funny thing about it is it's real up and down. There's some people's fans, and then there's also players around the league that don't love the play-in. But when the play-in actually starts happening, then you're excited for it for whatever reason. You just got to get there. It's like the whole process it's not great, but once you get there and watch the games, it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm one of those guys who, once it's, I mean, for me at this point in time, now that they had the first round
Mm-hmm.
go past, I'm extremely excited because now you get to see, the matchups, for real.
Right.
So I'm looking forward, and there's some key matchups. So which which uh which game we're going to talk about
Well,
first?
let's go in order of how they dropped, right? So the
Okay.
first game was in the East Coast,
Mhm.
right? And so that was the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the new I almost said it myself. I almost said the New Jersey Nets. You see
Or-
what happens? Versus the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
Yeah, man. Uh, that was what I thought it would be.
Mhm.
A pretty back and forth game for the most part, but I kind of really never thought the Nets were going to be in trouble. I mean, were you worried that the Nets were going to win it?
No, you know what's interesting? I would have given Cleveland an upper hand had they had Jared Allen. Um, but because he, is not available to them, I was definitely leaning towards Brooklyn. Um, because of their depth now that they have Kyrie able to play with them, a complete game. So, and I think these moves that they made, to bring in Curry, to bring in Drummond, helps them with size and shooting. So, um, yeah, I once this matchup came into play, my bets was on the Brooklyn Nets to win this, and they
Yeah,
did, and it was sort of convincingly.
yeah. I agree with you there. Like it was it's a tough it's because the thing is now here's the thing. If the Cavs had a healthy Cav team with all their players, the Jared Allens and all these guys, um, I think the Cavs could have won this game. Because you could say something similar about the Nets, but who were they really missing? Like Harris? Who else? Who else was out for the Nets that they didn't have? I felt like they had everybody else. I mean, I
Right.
know
Everybody who didn't play was like a coach's
Right. I know
decision, right?
Ben
So,
Simmons is a big key, but I almost kind of don't even feel like Ben Simmons is on the team. He hasn't played with them yet.
right,
It's like I don't lump him in. And I know
right.
it's hard to say that because it's Ben Simmons, but you know what I mean? I'm thinking about the actual players that have played with the team,
Right.
already this year. So yeah, but
It's
that's
it's it's a tough game though because I don't necessarily like I would have given Cleveland an edge if they had like you were saying a Jared Allen here, maybe even Claxton back. But if you know, for me, it was more the Jared Allen loss because
mhm,
that helps with the depth, that helps with their size, their rebounding, their block shots, their defense at the rim. So it would have made it a lot harder for Kyrie to, get off as many shots in the paint that they did, or just in general. Um, but one thing that the Nets do have is they have two closers. So at any given time, all they really have to do is keep the game close enough for them to strike in the fourth quarter and hit big shots, which both KD and Kyrie can do. So
right.
that's what makes this team so interesting going into this playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And they definitely both their guys stepped up and contributed to that victory. I mean, Kevin Durant had 25, 11 and 5. Kyrie had 34, 12 and 3.
Hmm.
So when they play like that, they're a tough team to beat.
Right.
Um, and the Cavs didn't have a bad game. Like they played well. I mean, Garland definitely. See, this is one of those things where you kind of I hate to do it, but because it's a whole Nick fan thing, like because of the way they were in the draft together with RJ and Garland. But
Right.
Garland had 34 points and 5 assists in a play-in playoff type game. He stepped up.
Mhm.
He played the way you're
Oh, he
supposed to play. So you
absolutely.
know,
He's their future. So when
yeah,
when folks look at Claxton and believe that he's gonna, you know, find a new home, that's that's not far fetched.
yeah, no, it's definitely not, man. That's one thing I could say that, they probably just need to, they've had obviously some tough injuries, but they probably need to just assess their team, and make sure going forward that they're happy with these particular pieces on the team, because Karis LeVert chipped in with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists.
And
not terrible.
Excuse me, Ron. I don't know why I keep saying Claxton. It's Sexton. What is wrong with me?
Sexton.
I don't know what is wrong with me.
No.
Action Claxton. I'm like Claxton, and I'm like, wait, Speedy ain't playing. In my head, I'm like, Speedy ain't playing, so I just had to look it up. I was like, Sexton is who.
And the reason why
I met.
The reason why I didn't correct you, because there is a Claxton that was in the game for the Nets, and so it kind of just flowed.
No.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't even thinking about that. Sexton. Gotcha.
Sexton, Colin Sexton is sort of what everyone's talking about, potentially moving next year because Garland has played so well. So
right.
It wouldn't be surprising to me.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you there. And that, that's saying a lot. Like, so let me ask you a question. In this game, first off, Kevin Love kind of, turned back the clock a little bit. He had 14 points and 13 rebounds. Whenever you can get anything like that from Kevin Love,
right,
that's great,
Mm-hmm.
But then you had Evan Mobley had 19 and 7, Markkanen had 13 and 4, and then you had, like I said, Karis LeVert had 12, 7 and 7.
Right.
Do you think that when it comes to the Cavs that Markkanen has been what they expected?
I think so. I don't think they brought him in expecting him to be, a number 2 option. I think what they expected from him was someone to fill the gap that was lost when when someone like Allen goes down, but Allen brings a little bit of a different sort of dynamic. And Kevin Love, again, he's no slouch, but he also defensively isn't what you lose when you lose out on Jared Allen being there. So it's tough because you try to fill those positions as best as you can. I think what they end up doing was pushing Markkanen into the power forward position and then moving Evan Mobley to a center position. Now you're asking a lot of a young player. He has to take on a different role and have more responsibilities on the defensive end, which of course will always affect your offensive, scoring or your offensive impact because you're so focused on the defensive side. And then the defense that you're focused on is that's in front of you is like a Kyrie and a Durant, so that's even more stressful as a player, a young player.
Point.
I just think that it was unfortunate that they lost a few guys. I think someone on the chat put my holy king placed Sexton and Rubio. Injuries were a big deal, absolutely, because Rubio is another player who you may not look at him as someone who's going to change the game, but his passing ability, his understanding of the game, could pay dividends in close games, which this wasn't, because when you look at the game, the Nets pretty much dominated the second half. The first half, it was close. Kyrie was like 9 for 9 or something like that. In the first half, he was like not missing anything, and then he hit a clutch 3, a fadeaway 3 to end the half. So, man, I mean, that's a tough team to beat. So I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Cleveland played as best as they can. They just, again, as a young team, they're gonna press, in certain situations, and you see some of that youth. It showed itself a bit in that game.
Agreed. The only thing I will say, though, is that even though both those gentlemen that were mentioned, Rubio and Sexton, were big injuries, they happened so long ago in the season, in which Sexton getting injured actually really opened up the door for Garland to take off and become who he is. And then Rubio's injury turned into him being moved because then they wound up trading Rubio to Indiana and they got back Karis LeVert. So, those did affect them at one point, but going forward, they kind of moved on and made some changes. So
those became like win-wins.
Right.
The Karis LeVert, it's definitely a great asset to have, especially going into a playoff game. But not only just that, bringing him into the next couple of seasons, you can utilize a scorer like that to come off the bench, and you don't have to, sort of worry about playing Garland heavy minutes or Coro, having to pick up a lot of the slack. He can share those minutes with Karis LeVert. I think that was a great move.
And my holy king did, Rubio improved since his days in Minnesota. That's very true.
Absolutely.
He definitely. I mean, he's a solid NBA player.
The one thing you can say about Karis LeVert, though, he'll have these games where he can go off for 20, 25 easy. He's a great ISO type scorer. He's someone who you can rely on to give you. He doesn't take time off. He's one of those guys who'll play defense, he'll play offense. You know what I mean? He's not somebody who's just gonna waste time on the court. He's not gonna just be someone who's gonna fill up the stats either. He's just really a solid player to have on your team, and who can lead a unit. He can definitely be the number one on your second unit when you need a scoring punch. Right.
I agree with that. Well, that, and then so that was the first game, on Tuesday night, and then that brings us to the second game, the West Coast game, and that was the Timberwolves who defeated the Clippers 109-104. This was interesting too because I really didn't see that there was a storyline here, but one developed. Actually, two developed.
Well, feel free to chime in because I didn't catch this game. It was way too late for me to catch.
I got you.
I did catch some of the highlights, but I don't know anything you're referencing right now.
So the first storyline, which is probably the one that everybody can point to, and it's the biggest one, but I just didn't realize it at the time that it was going to be that big of a deal. But I guess you got to look at the player. He used it to fuel himself, and that's Patrick Beverley being able to beat his old team, the Clippers. I really didn't. Honestly, going into the game, I wasn't even thinking that Patrick Beverley was going to be so intense and so hyped up to beat the Clippers, but he was. He was.
Right. I did catch that last steal against Jackson to see it. I caught that on highlight reel, so I seen there was definitely an impact there for sure.
And he was in it because Patrick Beverley, I mean, who are we kidding? He is not a scorer, right? He doesn't add much to the offensive game, and especially these days.
Right.
But he chipped in his 7 points, but he wanted the game because he had 3 assists and he had 11 rebounds. So he was trying to do whatever he could to make sure that they won this game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you also had D'Angelo Russell, who stepped up at the right time. He had 29 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. You had Malik Beasley had 12 points and 6 rebounds. One thing that I thought was quite disappointing was the play of Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know what happened to him this night because I was watching and I was like, is he hurt? What's going on? He wound up fouling out the game, but outside of him having foul trouble, he really just didn't look like he had it. He shot 3 of 11. He finished with 11 points and 5 rebounds and 3 assists. So it was just one of those games where he was really quiet.
Hey man, I don't know, man. He's in love right now, so you gotta give him a little.
He is in love.
You gotta give him a little break, man. He probably had a nice night the night before. Came in with no legs.
Yeah.
That boxing team.
He got to take a page out of the boxer's book, yo.
You already know. Sometimes.
Hey, you know what I mean. But
hey, they do have a young star.
There you go, and that was the surprise. And that was the second storyline. Right. The most vocal storyline was Beverly, but this guy. I mean, Anthony Edwards had 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. But it wasn't the fact that he scored 30 points, which was great. It was how he did it, and then what he said afterwards.
Clutch time, right?
Yeah, and then his comments afterwards, he was like, "They don't want to guard me. They're afraid to guard me. Look at it." I was like, "This is hilarious." And then they show highlights, and like every time I got the ball, look how they run away. They,
Hey, listen,
he's really a character.
Good, confident man. Kid is
Very.
confident. He believes in himself, and that's what you want to see in a young budding star. You want someone to believe in themselves to the point where you want them to take the reign and take over in the fourth quarter, especially when you got another primary scorer on your team. Once you know they don't have it, you want a young player like that who's built for the day for the day. You're like, he's built for this time right now. Like, he's built for the playoffs. And he's got the high energy. He jumps out the gym. And his shot is solid. The kid hit a couple of step backs that I seen on highlights, and they were amazing to see because they came right after Paul George had hit a couple, to get them back in it. And so it's interesting to see, this kid just start to mature in front of your eyes. And this is only his second year, right?
Yeah.
So that's big.
You got to give him credit. And you know what? I was taking some credit away from him throughout the season because I felt like he wasn't playing that great. I felt like he was having some levels of inconsistency with his shot and certain things that were going on. But then as I looked into him a lot more, he's dealing with, like, it's not a degenerative knee issue, but he was dealing with a lingering knee issue for a lot of the season. Okay. So that you gotta give him that credit.
Yeah, they know that.
Yeah. When I found that out, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, he's special."
Right, but there's also, it's a sophomore, right? So you always go through your sophomore slumps. That's gonna happen. But to his credit, man, he's held it together this entire season. He's been one of their leading scorers. Even he hasn't been their main leading scorer, but he has been up there in points per game. And I think the unsung hero also, when you look at their season, is you were saying Russell. Russell's sort of one of that forgotten guy on that team. So
he's been very solid for them.
That next matchup they got going on is going to be really interesting.
Yes, sir. So, I don't know, man. Cat definitely. I see my holy king. Cat was a no-show. Yeah, I don't know what it was, man.
I don't think that's going to continue. I just think like this is one of those games that he just didn't have it, But in a series where you have 7 games, and I think he's going to show up. I think you're going to see a different Cat.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that you can't keep a guy who's this skilled and this talented down.
Right.
For whatever reason, he just luckily enough, his team stepped up for him though, so we can still talk about him having a chance to move forward.
That's definitely a fact. And there was someone who came off the bench who did really well too for the Timberwolves. I just don't know who that is.
Well, maybe it was Malik Beasley. I mean, he had 12 and 6.
Possibly that was him.
Yeah. And then just on the other end, to point to what they did, Norman Powell had 16 points. Reggie Jackson had 17, 7 and 5. Marcus Morris had 12 points. And then, hey, man, listen, there's a reason why he is who he is.
Right.
Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough for them to win this game. But, Paul George had 34 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists and 3 steals.
It's amazing that this is all while coming back from his injury.
Right.
And he isn't like far from his comeback. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he's been playing for over 2 months, after injury. He's coming back within weeks of his injury, and he's been balling since he's got back. He's put up some really nice numbers. It's unfortunate that we haven't seen him and Kawhi Leonard play an entire season together.
Right.
Because that's a different team when you have those two players on the court. and playing with regular minutes. They unfortunately couldn't keep it together this entire season. So you don't know what that team could have been.
It's very true. And I don't know what to expect, man, because I hear that knee issue that Kawhi has is pretty bad. So I don't know.
That's crazy.
And then that brings us to the next day, of play-in basketball. And this first game on the East Side was not a good one, man. This is like after everything you have seen so far in the first day, the second day, this first game was rough. Now, of course, I did see that.
Rough.
Yeah, I did see that. The Charlotte Hornets had a little issue with their bus. Then there was an issue with the train. So they wound up having to walk to the stadium. But I don't know. They didn't even walk that far. I don't know. I don't know what's
sounds like a lot of built-in excuses.
But yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to use an excuse, come up with one, because this definitely, you need to tell me something.
I got one for you. The Hawks just played a better game. The Hawks. It's interesting how they played this entire season, and then you start to see them put it all together at the back end of their season. And now they got their pieces. Everyone's healthy. They're sort of playing to the same strengths that they did last year. This defeat against the Hornets proved that.
Right.
A lot of Hunter, a lot of Collins. They had a lot of picking screens, picking pops. And it's very difficult when you have other players going and Trey can come off at any moment. And Trey is showing up, man. He is a legitimate all-star point guard. You have to give the kid credit. As much as we don't like him as Knicks fans, the kid is good. He knows how to play this game, and he showed up. He showed up.
Yeah, he did. This is the thing about Atlanta. Atlanta, their team, when things are going, I think maybe they need something to get up for too. Like playoff time, maybe they rise to the occasion because they know that they're really fighting for something. Now it's here. I don't know, but what they did in this game is what I thought they would be all season, and they weren't. Right. Like you got Bogdanovich had 13. Trae Young, Rayford Trae Young, sorry, got to give him his government. He had 24 points, 11 assists. Right. You had Herter, who had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Clint Capella had 15 points, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals. 2 steals, 3 assists. You had Gallinari had 18 points.
That was the surprise, but he took advantage of his mismatch.
Correct.
Like every time they switched and they put a guard on Danilo, he was able to back him down and shoot over him, and he made it count. So that was sort of the key to that game as well. And they went to him often and early.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah,
and he shot he shot really good from the field.
Absolutely.
And then what you mentioned, like DeAndre Hunter had 22 and 7. If you're getting 18 points from Gallinari and you're getting 22 points from DeAndre Hunter, for the Atlanta Hawks, they have a good chance of winning that game.
Right.
So, that's
length. That's
right.
length.
And this is where that whole thing where you can have 6 or 7 guys in double figures. This is where their strength is. This is what teams worry about.
Right. Right.
On the flip side,
that's what took them to the
this is what we saw last year in last year's playoffs. This is what was there. That this was that dynamic thing that they had, and then we saw them struggle all year. But it's the same guys. Like I don't know what it was.
It was health, part to do with health. I would say that throughout the season they didn't have a full roster committed to playing, or didn't have the ability to play. And Trey came off of injury too. He missed some of the first half of the season.
Right.
And then there was some influx around Collins and whether or not he's going to, be a number one or be moved or, continue to take a back seat. So, there was stuff, but their inconsistencies came more from the defensive side, I think.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
100%. You're right about that.
So they
100%.
cleaned that up a bit, and you could see
They
that
did.
with their record after All-Star break. You can start seeing their record dictate that as their defense starts to
And
get more
I'll tell
impressive.
you, watching that game, they were kind of getting after on the defensive end. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, is it just a lack of effort? They're not putting forward because they looked kind of tough. I know Charlotte struggled, but they also struggled because Atlanta was kind of up in everybody's face. They were
They were
playing good
up.
D.
Bogdanovich plays up, which is key. Hunter plays up, and Clint Capella. He's such a dynamic force down,
Mm-hmm.
and a presence down low. You just aren't going to be able to get shots up as easy as you may think. But, when you think about, those three individuals, I think I said Bogdanovich, Clint Capella, and Hunter
Right.
as defensive players and on the court almost at the same time, usually. You're going to have an interesting, dynamic defensively if they can put together a string of players who can, press the ball, press up, So, and that's what we've seen. We've seen them guys bring it. And then Kevin Huerter comes in and he gives you a spark. So I don't know if it was Kevin Huerter starting or off the bench. I can't remember.
No, Herder starts.
Okay, so Boggy comes out.
Correct.
Bogdanovich comes out from the bench.
Yeah.
So you have another option defensively that comes in and he presses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, this year, Bogdanovich has kind of struggled. He hasn't,
Right.
It hasn't been a typical season for him like we saw in the past.
Right.
So Herder stepped up and he's been playing a little better than him.
Right.
Is what it is.
But he's also I always looked at Bogdanovich as a stronger defensive player than Huerter.
Yeah, I agree with
You know
that.
what I mean? There's another player on that team. I don't ever get his name right.
Okongwu?
Okongwu, right.
Yeah.
Another defensive player, another kid
Yeah,
who comes in.
yeah.
And he's gonna play defense, he's gonna be in your face, and I never see a game that he comes in and he doesn't have 3 or 4 fouls. You know what I mean? Like he comes in, he's taking those fouls and putting people at the line, not giving people easy shots. So
right,
they play well.
They did, and they didn't have John Collins, but they pretty much had the sum of all their parts there. So that was good game for them. On the other side, Miles Bridges had 12 points. PJ Washington had 17 and 6. Terry Rozier had 21, and LaMelo Ball had 26, 5, and 8.
Right.
And that was kind of the gist of it for that team. And that's the worst part about it, because you got 3 points from Kelly Oubre. You got nothing from, I almost forgot his name because I haven't seen him in so long.
Who's that?
Hayward.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's tough. And then you talk about the Knicks and their rookies. You don't see guys like Bouknight on this team, Kai Jones, you don't see them.
Right. They're not playing. They're not a part of the full-on rotation. I think they're in the same position, where they have to move a few of their players in order to make room for those kids.
Although I got to tell you, to be honest, in a game like this where my team is getting their face kicked in and I'm not seeing the effort, I would have been grabbing anybody off the bench. Give me something.
It's a different team, though, man. I mean, they picked up Isaiah Thomas, right? Like mid-season, towards the back end of the season, just to get some runs. So they really didn't feel like these kids were going to be able to provide anything.
And Isaiah only played 6 minutes. He had 3 points.
Well, listen, they went with their guys. I mean, what do they usually play though? Like 10, 11 guys there?
Yeah. They
got the twin. They got the twin over there, right? The Martin twin. He plays a lot of minutes. I forget his name.
Cody Martin.
Right. He plays a lot of minutes. They got Montrezl Harrell there.
Right.
So he's sort of their backup center. So it's an interesting team because they're a tough team to play in the regular season. I could see in the playoffs how you can sort of focus in on a Miles Bridges and not really worry about the rest of the team, right? Like this is sort of a team that you really can't get Miles going because he's almost like that their main. He's the most effective, I think. I think he's the guy who will take them over the top. Other guys are going to do things or not do things, right? Terry Rozier will score his points, but he's not going to do much of anything else.
Right.
LaMelo gives you the assist and the points. Plumlee's not going to give you anything in the point side. He may give you some rebounds. He's really sort of just there. And then you got their forward. I don't know what their forward's name is, but he's a talent. But he's also really not giving you anything defensively. So it's really dependent on how Miles Bridges plays. And if he can get going and score you 20 plus points, if not 30, then you have a chance to win. If you don't, then you got to rely on the other guys to do it. And the other guys aren't capable, especially at the back end of games.
Right. And you know what? I swear to you, you may not believe me, IQJ. I was just looking at the roster for the Hornets, and I saw Mason Plumlee and his 3 points that he gave them. And I said, you know what? This Charlotte Hornet team could use Mitch. And what did he say? He said Hornets need a Mitch. They do, man. Yeah. I see it.
It's true. I mean, but to start the season, you would have thought they gave the money to Harrell, right? To Montrez. And for whatever reason, they chose to place him as a backup. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that we don't see, but I would have thought he would have started this year. And yeah, my Holy King is definitely right with saying Gordon Hayward is a waste of money. He's never there when you need him. Yep. Hey,
this is very true.
He's been plagued with injuries his entire career. Yeah. I think his one comeback career was with Boston, and he was able to get that, turn that over to a nice payday.
Right. So. And the other thing, outside of Mason Plumlee, they're a very small team. Even Montrezl Harrell is 6'7".
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he was like a 6'10".
I thought too. I just looked at it. He's 6'7".
Maybe that's why. Maybe they were just concerned about not having enough height. So that could be it.
Well,
I still would probably, because that's an energy guy, right? Like, sometimes you don't need the height. You just need that presence. You need that guy who's going to be physical and sort of give you that presence.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have that presence, it's tough. Plumlee doesn't scare anybody, especially like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a big guy, but like literally, I think guys look at him and say, "Oh, I'm gonna catch a highlight."
Right.
Like, that's
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's actually a fair point. That's a true statement. You're not lying. Well, then that brings us to the final game of the play-in so far, which was the Pelicans versus the Spurs, and the Pelicans defeated the Spurs 113-103. And this was I saw this whole game, and I thought it was pretty interesting to watch, because one of the things that was special and nice for the Pelicans is having CJ McCollum, and CJ McCollum playing like CJ McCollum. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we got him, but he didn't really know. CJ McCollum, he came the ball on this night.
Well, listen, not only was CJ McCollum a problem, but Jose Alvarado was a problem.
Yeah.
Shout out to that
this
kid, man.
Was good, man.
Craig's the king. Go ahead. Young boy from
There's
Brooklyn.
a reason why they gave him his $4 million, man.
Little Boricua Mexican heritage. I see
go.
You, bro. I see you. Salute. Get that money.
Go.
Word. But he did his thing, man. But they go nowhere without that acquisition of McCollum. That was a brilliant acquisition. Brilliant.
Definitely. I mean, and then the good thing about it is, like, this was because Brandon Ingram's play is kind of been a little up and down this year. He's dealt with a couple injuries, a little nagging, but he's been there for the most part. But sometimes his play is inconsistent. He may score 20-something or even 30 in a night, and then he may score 17, 15, 16. He may give you these nights. You don't quite know what you're getting. So the good thing about this game is, like, first off, he had 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, I believe.
Right.
Yes. And when he wasn't in the game, you had McCollum in the game. And then McCollum had 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Right.
So having that nice 1-2 punch is great. And then the thing about
Valanciunas played well too.
I was just going to say the thing about the Pelicans that they have that they can always use is that they've got a skilled center that, you know, they go to when they feel the need to. And Valanciunas had 22 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. And
I am going to point this out, though, Ron. That is against a Spurs team without.
I know they don't have any size.
They don't have, you know what I mean? So he was able to take advantage of that. But
that's why you have them there. That's why you use them.
I totally agree. I agree with that. But against other teams in the West, he's not as dynamic. He won't be as dynamic.
Right. I get it. But you know, he's still one of those players that has a mid-range jumper. He's got some low post moves, and he's a very good rebounder. So those are traits you can work with.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that's pretty much the scoring for them outside of Jose Alvarado's 12 points.
His defense is the big key, though.
Right. And then the 12 points that is like gravy from Herbert Jones. But Herbert Jones, this guy's defense, bro.
Right. That's the thing. They got a couple of kids who can get under you and bring that intensity defensively, and they need that. You know who's a player who I think he plays with the New Orleans Hornets now. Larry Nance Jr. We didn't hear much of. He played good.
Oh yeah, he's with the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah,
he is, right?
He was one of those
about
14 minutes.
He's one of those players that I wanted to see potentially on the Knicks in some way. I like his game, but he hasn't really shown up for the Pelicans, which is surprising because he has skill. He has a lot of skill.
It's tough, I guess, man, because the one thing about him is like, I think when you're in a situation where you're not the number one, not the number two, not the number three, you're more of that complimentary player. It's hard for him to get a rhythm because he don't even take a lot of shots. It's not like he's playing really poorly with his offensive game. He don't even get a lot of shots to jack up.
Right. I mean, you got
8 rebounds.
You got a full squad of scorers. I mean, Ingram, Valanciunas. You got McCollum.
They got guys they don't even use for scoring. Devontae Graham doesn't even shoot. He don't play really.
Right.
So and then you not even to mention the guy who hasn't played 1 minute this year. Yeah, so they're an interesting team.
Right.
And that brings you to the point where what can happen in the offseason between the Pelicans and McCollum and Ingram to kind of talk to Zion to get him on board because they may have something with adding Zion to their mix with what they got currently.
Well, look, there's I think the ESPN was showcasing Zion throwing in some dunks.
Yeah, I saw that
a few days ago or a day ago. So I guess they're working him in slowly. He probably won't play this season though. I don't think so. He's just coming back from a serious injury. So
IQJ said Zion slowly giving Ben Simmons vibes.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, and so, if you look at what the Spurs did, I'll tell you 2 things that I noticed from this game. So one, the Spurs
they're young, man.
And they lack those, true talented offensive threats. But because even DeJounte Murray, he's
do you
not
think that though? I don't know. I just think they were like intensity wise, I don't think they were ready. Like even when I heard Pop talk afterwards, Pop was like, they didn't bring what they brought in the second half of the season.
Right.
You know what I mean? And with that said, he's gonna call it out, right? Pop's probably called it out a few times in the huddle. He's no stranger to calling it out. It's just your players need to meet, their match. Like you have to step up your game. Similar to what you were saying with the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
They play up to their competition. The Spurs team is so young and so unique in the way they were put together because some of these players weren't even in a starting position to start the season, right? like they started to become what they are as far as a team, and like their starting roster. So I just think there's time to gel and time to understand what sort of team they are. They don't really have an identity defensively, I want to say, because their bigs is soft.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Because I think their guard play, like their guards and wings,
Right.
are really good defensively.
Solid.
But
Right.
I hear you on their bigs
like
are
the bigs is sort of weak.
Yeah.
So they're gonna need to fix that in the offseason.
That's another team that could use a Mitch.
Absolutely. They could
But
use a Noel, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's actually an interesting point.
Interesting
point. One thing I was going to point out that I noticed in this game, and they struggled. Some of their players struggled from the 3-point line, but I thought that's kudos to New Orleans defense, because Brandon Ingram with his length and Herbert, Jones, man, that dude is a monster.
That's what I'm saying. They got length, they got athletic ability in certain areas. I don't look at Valanciunas as a athletic player, but he has the size.
Right. He's got the size.
So,
but I will give credit to this team, like, with a couple different pieces, this team could be really tough to deal with, because one thing about them, Keldon Johnson, Vassell, well, Vassell's more of an outside threat, but Keldon Johnson, Primo, DeJounte Murray, and even Lonnie Walker, those dudes can get buckets in the paint, man.
Right.
Like Keldon Johnson, this dude, he's played, like, he's not a big frame guy. He's strong in the paint for a guard.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess he's a forward, but
yeah,
but he's a small forward.
Right.
Yeah,
but he's good though. I mean, they got some good talent. There's no taking away from that talent. It's just, can they keep those pieces together and build, like I said, just bringing in a defensive type center, or a center that can, they got some weight to them. There's gonna be, like they could use a Montrezl Harrell, right? They can use guys like that, of that cloth, you know what I mean, to sort of shore up their defense, because that's really what they're missing. Like that dunk by Ingram, that should have never happened.
You're right.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
you're right.
That should have never happened. And so those are those ones where you're like, you got to do a little better than that.
It's very, very true. You can't allow that to happen, and that's a momentum shifter right there.
Right.
So, we only got one more round of play-in games, I believe, which is this tomorrow, Friday, and that's the first game is the Atlanta Hawks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then the second game is New Orleans Pelicans versus the Clippers. So, real quick, before I run down like the start of what the playoffs series are going to look like, and then we can jump into other stuff. What do you think about Atlanta and Cleveland? Who you got in that game?
I'm, surprisingly enough, I'm going with Atlanta. I've seen enough from this past game against the Hornets they're making a believer out of me right now. I think it's real for them. I think they understand what they did last year. They're coming with that same energy. I think they'll be able to withstand a Cleveland run. So I'm gonna go for them. Cleveland's a bit young. Again, this is their first year fully rounding out into shape. So I'm going with that with the Atlanta Hawks in this one.
Okay. I'm probably going to agree with you, because I think Cleveland might play a better basketball game, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the Hawks. I just think the Hawks have what Cleveland's missing right now, because they've got most of their team healthy outside of Collins. So I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them. So
Capella matchup is going to be tough for Mobley.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Mobley's going to have his hands full with that.
Yep.
And Mobley's not, like, right now, to me, he's not yet an aggressive scorer. He can score his buckets, but when he goes up against, like, when I watch him play against the tougher competition, when he goes up against the Embiids and these guys, of course that's tough, but I'm just saying he doesn't do as much offensively. So I think with the fact of how good Capella is on defense, I think it may be pretty tough for him. We'll see.
It's a weight difference too, man.
Yeah,
he's got college weight on him. He ain't got the pro weight on him yet, so he'll get there.
You're right. And so that brings us to the New Orleans Pelicans versus the LA Clippers. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going with the Pelicans. They got way more firepower than the Clippers do. But again, you never know. PG-13, Paul George can take over a game in the fourth. So if they keep it close and they have a shot, they could be taken away from them. But I think Pelicans got way too much firepower at this point. And I think they probably got the home game, right?
It's gonna be in the Clippers actually.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that may change things, but I still think the Pelicans will pull it out. Unless Reggie Jackson may show up. You never know. But I'll go with the Pelicans. McCollum is lights out right now, so
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. So I'm thinking, I think the Pelicans as well, because I just watched the Clippers a lot this season. I don't know why. I don't know, because for whatever reason they were playing somebody I wanted to see, and I've just seen Reggie Jackson go quiet a lot, and PG-13 he needs more, so he needs a little more help. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so that tomorrow that will decide, that'll round out the last couple of seeds in the playoffs, and then we'll figure out what's going on. But what has been decided is that we know on Saturday, Utah will be facing Dallas at 1 p.m. You got Minnesota facing Memphis at 3:30. And then you have Toronto facing the 76ers at 6. And you've got Denver facing Golden State at 8:30. So real quick,
full day of full lineup, man.
What do you think? Utah and Dallas. Who you got? In the first game, not the series, in the first game.
Yeah, Utah. I got Utah.
Okay.
In the first.
What about Minnesota versus Memphis?
This is gonna be a good one, but I gotta go with Memphis.
I agree with you there. And I actually have Utah winning that game too, especially if Doncic is actually in a walking boot. It's not good.
Oh, he might be?
No, he's been in a walking boot. Yeah, but I don't know if they're doing it as a precaution because he got something was sore and they thought putting him in a walking boot would kind of preserve that foot and make it easier for him. I don't know, dude.
I was unaware of that. So yeah, definitely.
That's a tough one. Toronto versus the 76ers.
76ers.
I think this is tricky to me, dude. Not only do I not know what game
it's in Philly, though. It's in Philly.
It is in Philly. So maybe Philly can win this game. I just don't know about the series, bro.
I don't even think maybe. I just think Philly's so hard to beat at home.
I could see that.
Like literally, like if the first game was in Toronto, I would look at that differently. Because there's also a thing going on with the COVID, right? Like certain players can't play in Toronto.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't know who is not vaccinated in this with the 76ers.
I think Thibault wasn't vaccinated, but I think I heard he got the first shot because he wanted to play.
Okay.
And I think there's another player, not key players, but part of the mix that someone else didn't get the shot either. But it may have gotten the shot now. Who knows?
All right, I got you. I was just, but like even without that though, Toronto's a really good at home,
but that's
and they have that length. So I'm gonna say this is gonna play out. I think those home games are gonna be key.
I agree with you there. That makes a lot of sense to me. And so then that brings me to the Denver Nugget game. So Denver versus Golden State. Who you like there?
Golden State. They're going to be in full throttle, right? Because Curry's back, right?
I think Curry is back. I'm not for certain. I didn't see.
They're not posing it, right? They're not like showcasing, but I think he's back.
Okay. And then Sunday's game there's two to be determined. Like Miami's waiting and Phoenix is waiting, But what we do know is Brooklyn is supposed to play the Celtics at 3:30 on Sunday, and then Chicago versus Milwaukee. So between Brooklyn and Boston, who you like?
That's the
In
toughest
Boston.
right there. That's the toughest right there because they got those snipers, and it's all dependent on how Jaylen Brown plays. It really goes down to how he plays, because the rest of the teams are the rest of the team is gonna do what they do. Tatum's gonna show up. It's Jaylen Brown's to prove. So I'm a roll that Jaylen Brown has a good game, that first game against the Nets, and they take that first one, which will then spark a Ben Simmons push because they're gonna need Ben Simmons to get past these next couple of rounds.
Okay. I like it. And I think Boston's gonna win that game.
Okay.
And then you got Chicago versus the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Okay.
It's Milwaukee.
I'm gonna twist your arm on that one, huh?
Yeah. No, I can't. I got to go with Milwaukee. They're defending champs. They got a full team. They're ready to go.
I agree. I think Milwaukee wins that too. So yeah, man, that's what the playoffs, the play-ins is looking like, folks. This is what we got so far. We're gonna keep you updated and give you what's taking place as the weeks go forward. But there's some exciting basketball to be played, and these games are gonna get even better. You know it.
Right.
So I think at this point, we probably should, since we're talking about great basketball, we should probably, talk about a great basketball player.
Great basketball legend?
A great basketball legend sounds even better.
I'm
with that. Yeah. Let's see who we got. Who's our NBA NBK legend this week?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right, folks. Bob Lanier. He has a nickname?
I don't know if he does. I don't think he even had a nickname in
because I would think he would be great to be like a big shot Bob. Like he should be, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be Robert Horry. It should be Bob Lanier, maybe.
I hear that. Hey, if anyone in the chat knows of his nickname on the court, please share it with us. I don't think I was able to research that. To be honest with you.
Okay.
But while we're doing that, let's go into a little bit of his history.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Let's check out what Bob had going on.
Bob Lanier was the number 1 overall pick by the Detroit Pistons in the 1970 NBA draft. Lanier excelled in an era of outstanding centers such as Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Willis Reed. Despite his 6'11" frame, Lanier's movements were fluid. He had a deadly hook shot from the lane, a strong outside shot, and an outstanding rebounding skill. Lanier played more than 9 seasons in Detroit and is the Pistons' all-time leading scorer, averaging 22.7 points per game, and ranks second in rebounds with 8,063, and third in points with 15,488. Counting his 4 seasons in Milwaukee, Lanier amassed 19,248 points in 14 years, finishing his career with averages of 20 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. Bob Lanier was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1992 after playing 14 seasons in the NBA. We salute you, Bob Lanier.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
That's right, Bob Lanier. Definitely a NBA legend, an MBK legend, and we definitely salute him. And I think it's might be fitting for us to show a couple clips of Mr. Lanier and what he was known for, because he was a baller, man. He did some things.
Before we do that, let's give a shout out to C-Mac Utro for giving us his nickname. He was considered the chairman.
Oh, thank you. That's right. Appreciate that. The chairman. Oh man, look at the chat coming through.
Right.
That's why we love you guys, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for
Look
giving
at
us
this
some
next quote.
information.
Let's put this up by E. Gibson. I didn't know that either.
E. Gibson, Bob Lanier had a cameo in the old B-ball movie, The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Oh, okay.
Okay,
E.
dropping
Gibson
that
coming
movie
through.
knowledge.
Appreciate that. Look at this chat knowledge, man. That's why you guys are the best chat in the business.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all. I mean, Still Knicks Fans chat is pretty lit too, but MBK, y'all be holding it down, man. I'm just saying.
That's a fact.
Appreciate y'all. So yeah, man, let's get into Mr.
Bob Lanier,
Bob
the
Lanier
champion.
here.
Oh.
Hold on, I apologize. There we go.
Mm.
Let me see if I got a little music for that too.
There you go.
And the thing about Bob Lanier is that I don't know, when I was watching the highlights of him, because I don't really remember too much of how he used to play. He reminds me of somebody. Now, this is from my era of watching basketball as a young guy. He probably reminds other people of certain guys, but he reminds me of two people, but one in particular. When I saw him, I started to think of Wayman Tisdale. But Wayman Tisdale wasn't as good. So then I started to think of someone who was better than Tisdale and who he really reminded me of. And I thought of Sam Perkins, bro. He really gives me a Sam Perkins feel.
Right.
He's so smooth.
But was a bucket getter. Like, he was their leading scorer, where Sam Perkins took a back seat to Detlef Schrempf.
Very true.
To Camp, to Gary Payton. Bob Lanier was a scorer,
yes.
and a extremely high volume rebounder too.
Mr. Buckets over here.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Man, get that out of here. But remember, this is the era where he played like the best of the best centers. He was up against Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You name it. The best of the best, and
right.
And he held his own. Look at him going down the court like
that's what I'm talking about, man.
Just easy flow. Yeah, I think we ended that right here.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Get that music up out of here, folks. Get us back to where we are.
But yeah, man. Shout out to Bob Lanier, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and showing much love in the chat. Let's just mention you guys real quick before we get out of here. Tony Crow, Nixon Bruises, Tricky Nicky, IQJ, the Queen's Court, aka Dope Soul Sports Talk. That's
right. Go check her out when you can.
Yes, sir. And obviously check out Tony Crow and Nixon Bruises.
Absolutely.
Any chance you can. Yes. Who else we got?
We got E. Gibson, My Holy King, C. Mac, U. Troll. Who else we got? We got Tone the Tantrum in the building.
Austin 316.
Yes, sir. Gotta shout out our guy, Jay Boogie, the closer.
Yes, sir.
Salute. Appreciate
salute, Jay Boogs. I see Keyshawn. Appreciate you as always, brother. Oh man. Oh, we made it, John.
We made it,
y'all.
Okay.
Charles Barkley's in the building.
So that's what I'm talking about,
baby. One day we would get there, baby.
I'm telling you. He not only works for TNT, but he also frequents NBK.
Exactly. Obviously, Danny Landis in the building. What's going on, Danny? Salute. Walter White. Let's see who else I saw here.
Quality jumper.
Yes. AZ Cards, Phoenix Suns on God. Ooh, you a Phoenix man for real. Okay. He said Suns slap any team. Suns equal 2022 champs. I'm gonna put that up, man. Right. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Own that.
T. Williams, I think you might have mentioned him already.
DJ Space Ghost in the building.
That's right.
Did we give love to IQJ?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Max Callie, as always, appreciate you. Yeah, man. Think that's it. Max Callie, real quick, we're about to get out of here, but let me see. John, is there anybody you think is going to get upset in these playoffs? Because
Not Miami.
Interesting.
I wouldn't call it an upset though. They're against Milwaukee.
Right.
So that's the team.
Well, I mean, but right now, I mean, like, let's go with the first round of games. Is there you upset you might see?
I don't really know.
I don't know if you could think of it as an upset, but I think Toronto might knock the 76ers off.
Well, that would be an upset.
Okay.
I would consider that an upset. I don't see it happening, but I would consider that an upset.
That's pretty much all I can think about right now. I'd have to put more time and effort into it, but that's what I could. Toronto's tough, man. They're a wild team, man. Don't play around with them boys.
Yeah, and shout outs to Sim. He's in the building as well.
Yeah, man. Thank you as always, man. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, man. Well, thank you guys. It's been another great show. Appreciate y'all being here with us. John, any final words?
As I always say, blessings. And I wish you all the best. Looking forward to the next one. However, we won't be available next week. Correct? Am I correct in saying that?
That is correct. That is correct. If I can figure out a way to pull off a Wednesday or a Thursday show, I'll see if I can do it, maybe with a special guest host. But if it can't happen, just understand that we may not be available, but we will try.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate y'all. Salute. Subscribe to the channel, NBK family. We already mentioned the, part of the fam. Let's not forget Josh, the controversy, Sim and all his shows, Andy, the whole lot of people, man. Just represent for NBK, man. Keep hitting that like button for all the programming, and we'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, Still Knicks Fans, man. Don't forget our channel. Definitely go support us. We appreciate y'all. Tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knicks Fans. We'll be back again.
Yeah.
All right, man. This has been great. Thank you, John, as always. Appreciate you, my brother. John, and my man Jose, who's usually here holding it down on ones and twos. They're actually on vacation right now. John is gracing me with his presence. I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Anytime.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll catch you on the next one. It's been real. We out.
Peace. Run that.